Good morning, everybody, all the early birds that have made it to the first session. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants and all protocols observed, it's really nice to be here today. I'm very happy to be opening the remittance track, and I would just like to sort of underline what Pedro said, practical outcomes. In my past life, I used to be a farm veterinarian, and for those of you that work with farmers, you know they just want practical outcomes, honest conversations, no blah, blah, blah. So I really look forward to today being really about tangible things we can do to take things forward on the remittance track. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge everybody's dedication here on this field of work and recognize the interest of all our panelists and keynote speakers in sharing their experiences and best practices. And as I say, I set you that challenge about really practical outcomes. So besides the sacrifice of migrants who leave their families and home countries searching for opportunities, their contributions are accounted for in the form of remittances, as well as in investments and skills that they bring to their communities of origin. Yesterday, we cleared the air and discussed about common misconceptions about the contributions of migrants to development that often lead to confusion. From now on, please consider distinguishing between migrants' remittances and diaspora investments. The source of these funds may well be the same, but the instruments and approaches about how to mobilize and leverage these funds is very different, which is why we have two tracks today. It is worth noting that although over the past 15 years, the focus on remittances has primarily been on aggregate volumes and high transaction costs at the sending side, in the aftermath of the pandemic, focus on global efforts has now been shifting to maximizing and leveraging the impact of remittances. Besides being a lifeline for millions and for entire communities and countries around the world, the $200 average monthly flows per family also promote digital and financial solutions, inclusion for migrants, families, and contribute to create new jobs and income-generating activities. As discussed in one of the afternoon sessions yesterday, remittances also offer a concrete avenue for climate adaptation by allowing smallholder farmers and rural people to better anticipate and become resilient to climate change. For GFRID, supporting remittance markets and their contribution to rural development is a priority. For the past 15 years, through our financing facility for remittances, in partnership with IFIs, public, private, and civil society organizations, we've been promoting solutions and business models that have benefited millions of remittance families and their communities worldwide. Today, the remittances track panelists will focus on exploring, assessing, and thoroughly addressing remittances, their latest trends, especially after the pandemic, when we saw the unexpected resilience of these flows. This will be an opportunity to highlight the development impact these flows have, particularly in rural areas where they count the most. For GFRID, the dialogue around affordable and reliable remittances is essential, given that most of the vulnerable, namely small farmers, women, youth, and people in remote areas in general, can become far more resilient through these flows. It is estimated that half of all remittance flows goes to rural areas where financial inclusion rates are much lower and payments and digital infrastructure are weaker. In your discussions today, I encourage you to all to touch base upon these issues for the most vulnerable in rural areas. Since 2018, and most recently last year in the GFRID, we have been ticking some of the boxes, but there are also many boxes that remain unachieved. So as they respond to systemic and ongoing issues, we expect these issues to be discussed both from the perspective of sending side, but also the receiving end of remittances. To summarize where we left off in our last in-person meeting and where we are today, I'll just go over a few of what I see as the most relevant points. Number one, although we now recognize the significant contribution of migrant remittances and diaspora investments to achieving the SDGs, we are still missing key indicators and data to be able to make a compelling case. A lot of anecdotal evidence is available, but still, as seen yesterday, public and private sector entities have room to improve their data contributions to better decision making. The second point is in terms of legal and regulatory frameworks to ensure competitive, innovative and inclusive markets, de-risking and lack of interoperability, among others, remain critical barriers to many service providers. Thirdly, we have seen innovative developments in platforms and products that leverage financial inclusion through remittances. However, adapting savings, insurance, credit, investments products is still needed to reach more users and accompany them in their quest for financial independence, particularly in rural areas. And more agents and access points in remote areas are a must. We still see hesitation in many service providers to seek business opportunities in untapped markets. Regulatory hurdles, among other reasons, are behind these missed opportunities. And we've seen that financial education campaigns not tied to specific branded financial products can create awareness about the use of money, thus empowering people to make informed decisions about their remittances. Transparency in transactions in itself is a way of advancing financial literacy, but it's not always enforced, particularly in cash-based transfers. The biggest leaps are in the area of digital transfers. According to the GSMA, there are 1.6 billion mobile money accounts registered in the world, and regions like West Africa saw an impressive 27% growth in mobile money accounts last year. The number of registered agents more than doubled to reach 6.5 million. So in terms of payments received, 68% of mobile money account owners in sub-Saharan Africa received a payment into their account, with around 52% receiving a remittance payment and the other 50% including private sector and government wage payments and payments for the sale of agricultural products. Certainly, new technologies have proven effective in increasing the use of formal digital channels, but more needs to be done to enable access to digital remittances among the most vulnerable and in the last mile. So I invite you all to take advantage of the wealth of information that will be made available through this forum today, as stakeholders are invited to use the channels to disseminate key products, knowledge and data. Finally, I hope the discussion on remittances track will motivate you all to convene more public, private and civil society meetings from the local level up to engage in strategies, policies and actions and evaluate concrete roadmaps to action. From the preparatory meetings of our forum, we are most grateful to all the panelists for enabling we know the many positive and best practices to take home. So with that, I'd just like to wish you all an informative and productive conversation, and I look forward to very practical outcomes. Thank you.